Good afternoon, everybody. And I'm going to really quick go over the project for you. Now, it's due October 15th, so in 2 Tuesdays. And your learner targets for algebra are: I can solve a literal equation for a specified variable, portrait of a graduate, creative and critical thinker, I think through problems step by step using all information to solve. So the goal is you're going to create a poster of your name based on literal equations solved for the letters in your name. I will show you what one looks like momentarily. So your guidelines: 10 letters. They must be unique literal equations. So you can use a combination of the letters in your first, middle, and last name. You must submit your work, which is your formula sheet, that is on the back side of this piece of paper, or in this case, the next slide, solving the 10 literal equations you choose. You can also draw 2 pictures, either drawn or cut and inserted, of who you are, and every letter in your name must be represented by an equation. You can use duplicates, but you still need 10 unique literal equations. So basically you can't use the same equation for the same letter more than one time. So even if you have the same letter, you need 2 different equations for the same letter. Breakdown of the points. So your formula sheet, you show your steps for all 10 problems. The poster, you list the letters of your name and your formula. Pictures and neatness. That's the breakdown of all the points for this project. It is a 100-point total project. This section here, even though it says 44 equations, there are actually closer to 50 equations. And what you're going to do, you're going to pick the letter in the box. So for instance, let's start with, we'll say M. So M as part of Mr. Connors. So what I will do, I'll put an M. And then your original equation. Now the M, it can't be M equals something. That's not your original equation. Your original equation could be something like y equals mx plus b. And then, of course, in the end, your goal is to get y, the letter M by itself. I almost said y. My goal is to get the M all alone. So you will use a combination of properties. And basically, the game plan is reverse PEMDAS. So step 1, opposite of adding is subtracting the letter B, or the variable B. So you have to do that on both sides. Oops, 1 second, made a slight little boo-boo. Okay. And then the nice thing is only down to 1 more step. And then the next step is we want to still get the M by itself. So if you need to highlight it, you can, is we need to divide both sides by the letter or the variable X. So in the end, you have y minus b over x is equal to 1. Now again, you need to make sure your new variable m is isolated. In this case, you could have the m on the left side of the equal sign, y minus b over x on the right hand side of the equal sign. That's fine too. The name of the game is to isolate the variable that is a letter which is a part of your name. Here is a list of literal equations. I will post this on Google Classroom as well. We have 23 on the first page. Now, one thing, for problem 12, it should be D equals RT. So I will fix that, and we will be on our merry way. So let me, really quick, cross it out, and then I'll write D equals R times T. So I do not want to confuse anybody. So we have 23 on one side, 23 equations on the other side. Now, I am also going to write some other equations just for some of us who don't have it, names with, for those of us who have letters like J's and O's. It's not going to be easy. There is one example of letter O in our equations, but that's not going to be the only one. So I'll show you another one momentarily, which I'll write. So we can say number 47. We can say something like this. So this is mainly for anybody who needs the letter O. You can write this as, let's say, 3 times O plus 5 equals 41. So this right here is a letter O, and I will letter O, not a 0. In fact, let me specify. Last page. This is an example of a poster. Notice how I have the first, well, M and R for Mr., J representing my first name. But notice how the equations were rewritten where the M, the R, and the J respectively are isolated. Similarly, for my last name, again, notice how I am isolating the letters or the variables in respect to my last name. And again, you need to use an equation from the previous pages such that when you are picking your formulas, you know you have to rewrite the new formula as the letter of your name. So for instance, S equals D times T. This was from speed versus time equals distance. So you can say that speed times time equals distance. But now we have to solve for S, and that's how we have S is equal to D over T because we divided both sides of S times T by the letter T, which equals D over T. Because your original equation is S times T, equals D. So I will highlight the original equation. And there we have it. And then last but not least, so the orange highlights the original equation. Two pictures, one state of New York, think about there's math when we have to determine the distance. And a bridge, well, that's one of the bridges in the New York City metropolitan area. Again, distance, also velocity, along with you need arc measure length for the parts of the bridge. So there's a lot of math going on in constructing bridges. Anyway, thank you so much. As always, any questions, feel free to contact me in class or by email. Have a great weekend. See you soon.